Hey guys, good morning. Welcome to Solo ReacTalk. Today I'm going to be reacting to a video requested by Twin TVs. Yes, Twin TVs. It's called The Best Bad Game Ever Made by TotallyPointlessTV. Twin TVs and TotallyPointlessTV. TotallyPointlessTV is the YouTube channel, and the video is the best game ever made. Oh, the best bad game ever made. Yes. Okay. Let's start. 3, 2, 1, go.
Deadly Premonition is one of the most bizarre and broken games you'll ever play.
Wait. Where's my pen? Okay. Deadly Premonition. Alright. Oh gosh.
It's a game you either love with a cult-like passion or hate with a burning fever. And you might think I'm exaggerating here, but I'm actually not. It holds the Guinness World Record for the most...
The Xbox 360 version of Deadly Premonition craft a 68% review swing among critics when it was released in 2010. Across the game's original 33 reviews, IGN and Machinima both scored the survival horror a measly 20%. The former describing it as awful in every way. Other outlets scored it 4 out of 10. Meanwhile, Destructoid lauded it with a perfect 10 out of 10, while there were gushing reviews from the Digital Chumps 88% and Xbox World Australia 83%. Destructoid wrote, "This is absolutely nothing in this industry that can compare to how weird and wonderful this whole experience is." Wow.
Divisive survival horror game ever made, and I completely understand why. Love it or hate it, one thing everyone can agree on is that it is utterly bizarre.
I can't believe it. This is fantastic. It's really good. I'm sorry, but can I change my order? I'll have what Harry is having.
Any attempt to intro this madness is just wasted time. Words can't do it justice, so instead, let's just begin our tumble down the rabbit hole. With a story that begins the moment you launch the game, in which we see a pair of twins making a gruesome discovery. A woman having been murdered and mounted on a tree, displayed like a twisted work of art. But who is this woman and why was she killed? A mystery only our protagonist can solve. FBI agent Francis York Morgan. But...
Okay, wait, let me just write down his name. Wait, I need a better pen than this one. Aha, okay. Sorry. Francis York Morgan. Alright, Francis.
we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Isn't it those twins? Yeah, but they have angel wings now. And a halo.
The game starts, we actually find him in a sort of dream sequence, stood in a red room with two childlike angels whispering gibberish between themselves. The keen-eyed among you might even notice that these are an angelic version of the twins that found the body in the forest. And after inspecting an old TV, the twins finally acknowledge us, telling us it's time to get started.
It's about time to get started.
This leaves us with an obvious question. Where were we and what were those kids? No answers for now. Instead we find York in the real world, speeding along and ignoring damn near every traffic law known to man while he mulls over his investigation.
Whoa, this guy, he's on the cell phone, he has his smoke, he's on the laptop there, and he's also driving all at the same time. This guy, he's crazy. And he doesn't have a seatbelt. Wow.
Crime City for a while. Right, Zack?
All of his monologues are directed at someone called Zack, an unknown entity York bounces all of his ideas off. When Zack is asked for his opinion, we get to answer. When we stop at a random location, he asks if Zack wants to explore a little.
Zack, is there something here that you want to check out?
So
Okay. So can I say Zack is his imaginary friend? I wonder how this guy became an FBI agent. But anyways, we continue.
Zack appears to be a metaphor for us, the player, helping and guiding York in his investigations. That said, in Deadly Premonition, nothing is ever as it seems. Back in York's whip, turns out using a laptop, looking at crime scene evidence and smoking all at once makes it difficult to concentrate on the road. A man appears just in front of his car, forcing him to swerve and tumble down a cliff. York tries to regain control, driving through
He still has his cigarette in his mouth.
monkey squirrels before crashing into the forest below. Crawling out of the wreck, York lights up a Fatten and frankly doesn't seem all too concerned about the accident.
Zack, there goes the civilized world.
We're in full
Look, I don't know what kind of ancestors or gods that are protecting this guy, but I want them too. Just in case if I get into a car crash, I also just want to walk out of it like nothing happened. You know, he has no scratches, no bruises, nothing's broken. And you saw how many times that car rolled down the hill.
control now, and in the rain, lost in a forest, we have to make our way out. Using the pipe, we break through the fence and follow a path up as the sky glows red above us. Further along, a dog's barking, and the closer we get, the more distressed it sounds. Until York turns a corner to find it dead.
Huh?
If the red sky wasn't evidence enough, something's wrong here, and at an old shack a few steps down, we catch a glimpse of something lurking. Reluctantly, we enter, but it's empty. There's an old generator there and we flick it on, restoring power to the exit gate, but in doing so, we've caught something's attention. A woman appears behind York, and when he tries to speak to her, she contorts backwards. This is the game's first and most common enemy, known as the Shadow, possessed.
Oh my gosh. But why do you have to contort backwards? Why? This is weird.
Corpses that relentlessly hunt York.
So you're going to be hunting him like, why? You can't even run that way. Oh gosh.
As they stumble towards us, they groan different phrases, most disturbing of which is that they don't want to die.
So let me get this straight. When a shadow sees you, right, it turns around and then it contorts backwards so that it can face you, you know, with its stomach facing, you know, upward like that. Why?
They attack by grabbing us and ramming their dirty hands down York's throat, which I think it's fair to say is not an ideal way to go. Their purpose within the story is a mystery at this point. All we know is that they appear during storms and pursue York with lethal intent. Pulling out a trusty 9mm, we quickly dispatch the Shadow, causing her body to dissolve into a purple mist, but the problems don't end there, because
this is not threatening. This is not even scary. It's funny. Okay, the fact that they have to turn around and then contort backwards like that, there's no logic behind something like that. But anyways, we continue.
The entire forest is now littered with the buggers, and they all want a slice of York's cakes. Shooting through walkways and metal cages, we arrive near the exit gate when York is ambushed by a man donning an axe and raincoat. Gah! Dodging his attack, he hits us with a honey, before f***ing off to cause another pile-up on the M4. Given that he's on the boxer and we're here to solve a murder, you can damn well expect this mysterious person is up to no good. But for now, we're out of the forest. And old Yorkie, well, he's not surprised, because he was already warned about this event by his coffee.
My coffee warned me about it. Yesterday morning, the milk I poured in my coffee made a sign. It said, "Tomorrow you'll arrive in a place that will change your fate."
Oddly specific and complex to spell out with milk foam, but thankfully.
Okay. He has Zack as his imaginary friend. Okay. Coffee tells him the future, I'm not sure if the coffee is also an imaginary friend, but okay. It tells him the future. He has some sort of supernatural events happening around him. I don't know if it's real or is it something in his mind. Yes, I'm not sure if anyone else can see what's going on here. Him fighting against the shadows and fighting against this guy with a raincoat and an axe. I'm not sure if anyone else can see it. Maybe it's also in his head, but I guess we'll just see as we continue on with the game. Interesting. How did this guy become an FBI agent again? Amazing.
The small town of Greenvale is just ahead down this long ass road, and yes, you do have to run that distance while listening to what sounds like wet buckets of water being kicked. This really was the first Strand type game. All we're missing is music by Low Roar. At the bridge, one of the town's deputies is waiting for us.
Are you the sheriff?
No, I'm Deputy Sheriff Emily Wyatt.
If you couldn't tell by the cringy music,
He went looking for you, actually.
York wants to hit that.
She's easy on the eyes. Definitely worth a trip to the primitive world.
Maybe cut back on the imaginary friend talk, my dude. You don't want her to think you're crazy.
So you talk to your imaginary friend in front of the deputy that you like, Emily, right? Emily White. Okay.
And the sheriff sneaks up behind us, materializing from the bridge itself.
George Woodman. Call me George.
His name's George.
George.
Your typical badass sheriff sort who doesn't like being told what to do by big town folk. Two alphas, button heads. A power dynamic you love to see in these types of dramas.
By the way, George, I had a little accident with my car. Could you send someone to take care of it?
All right.
York tells the sheriff about his crash and heads off for his hotel, but not before the big boss gets one last taunt in.
We really don't need your help. Unlike some of your corrupt city police officers, I play it by the book.
Uh-oh.
Okay, handlebars, calm yourself down. Calling it a night, York...
Hey, Totally Pointless TV. No, let's not target the handlebars, okay? Let's not target those things. They're cool, okay? Wait, do I have handlebars? Oh, my beard has connected, but maybe not like his. Maybe if I shave on my sides, maybe I'll get the handlebars too.
Arrives back in the red room, but this time the angels are gone and we're able to pass through the door behind them. Following a thin red path, we're called back by a child.
York!
The kid shows us that holding our breath means the shadows can't detect us.
Can't see you if you hold your breath.
Using this ability, we sneak past, lingering for a moment while the shadow bends back just in front of us. You can use this ability at any time, but it's never required or even useful. Don't get me wrong, I hate forced stealth sections in games, but I don't know why they'd even add this. It's worthless.
Who are you?
We ask the child who he is before waking up in our fucking huge bed to mull over the dreams we've been having.
The symbolism in my dreams continues to intensify, but that child is what bothers me the most. I swear I've seen him before.
On the way to breakfast, we walk through the large, empty halls of the hotel. We're the only guest in the entire place. It's empty. These carpeted spaces almost give off Shining vibes as you walk around.
Isn't this like a small town? So it's not really something surprising that the hotel seems a bit empty.
Far too big to be this empty. It's like a liminal space. In the dining room, the owner of the gaff, Polly, she's waiting for us.
Polly Oxford.
Polly, what? Why is the dining room table so long like that? This reminds me of it reminds me of Vladimir Putin when the French president visited Russia, right? And Putin had the same sort of table setup, you know, this long, elongated, table. And the French president will be on one side and Vladimir Putin will be on the other. And it would just be looking so awkward and weird. Like, why have a table like that? But yeah, this definitely reminds me of that situation with Vladimir Putin and his table. Okay. Alright.
where we converse over yet another comically large piece of furniture. York tries to ask Polly about the town's history, but she can't hear shit and refuses to sit any closer.
Polly, it might help to hear you better if you could sit a little closer.
Oh my, Mr. Morgan, you're embarrassing me. So early in the day, too. I think I'm a little too old for you.
The music even seems to get louder when she's talking.
Big and prospering lumber town until not so long ago.
And I can't tell if that's poor sound balancing or part of the joke, but it's chaos.
I'll bring...
Yeah, it's chaos. I also can't tell whether that's part of the part of a joke or is it just part of the mechanicking that was done by mistake. But yeah, that's just so unnecessary.
your coffee out in a moment.
Thank you, Polly. I have to warn you, though. I am very particular about my coffee.
By now, some of you might have noticed the game's striking similarities to a little show called Twin Peaks. And that's no coincidence. Deadly Premonition is massively inspired by that show, which also followed a murder investigation in a small town where not everything is as it seems.
I know this actor, I've seen him before, but I don't know the show called Twin Peaks. Is it like an 80s or an early 90s or late 90s show?
In fact, Deadly Premonition began as an entirely different game altogether, one called Rainy Woods, which was announced at the 2007 Tokyo Game Show.
FBI Special Agent David Young, Henning.
For whatever reason,
David, you don't have that main character face. You know? You don't have that main character face. I'm sorry, David Young. I think I like York. As crazy as he may be, I like York. He has, you know, those cuts on his face here. He has this hairstyle. I don't know what is that hairstyle. I think I need to copy something like that one of these days. Yeah, and he has that spiky kind of hair. It kind of makes him look like a Tekken fighter, you know, like from Tekken 4 or 5 or 6, you know, from the early 2000s. Yeah, it's cool.
This version didn't make it off the ground and was instead rebooted as a different game, where they decided to pull back on the Twin Peaks references slightly.
Could you wait just a little longer?
If you haven't watched Twin Peaks yet and you enjoy this video, go watch it. They're very similar and the show deserves all the love it can get.
Where do I go and watch Twin Peaks? Totally Pointless TV. Where?
Oats and doughs, eat oats.
Back to breakfast, Polly brings York his morning coffee, and again, this caffeinated treat provides him with a sign.
Did you see that, Zack? Clear as a crisp spring morning. F.K. I knew I could count on it.
Initials? An acronym? An insult? It's too early to tell.
Now then, let's get going.
Outside, we find a police cruiser with a key on the hood, something York's gassed about. Values really get this man going.
This town has what the country needs. Values.
Heading to the police station.
Does that actually happen in the United States of America? Like when an FBI agent needs resources, he can request from the police, a local police station, to say that, guys, I need a vehicle. Can you supply me with one? Yeah, I mean, that's kind of interesting that that can actually happen. I don't know if it can happen, but, you know, in the game it's happening. Yeah, I don't think in South Africa, you know, our Hawks is the equivalent to the FBI in America, and I don't know if the Hawks are allowed to do something like that, you know, where they can requisition a police vehicle from the local police station. Should anything have happened to their vehicle? Yeah, I don't know. Interesting.
Is our official objective right now, but once we're behind the wheel of the car, we can go wherever we want, and there are a few side objectives we can carry out to further our investigation.
Very nice scenic view, but the graphics are very old looking. Like, how old is this game actually? Yeah.
These side hustles aren't required to progress. They're not even mentioned by the game. You have to hunt them down yourself, but a lot of them are worth doing because they provide insight into the town's life and the characters involved in this crime. For example, right now we can drive over to the victim's mother's house and see what she knows. It's a few blocks down from the station, so we start the journey over, crossing the country lanes and small businesses en route. Needless to say, this game looks like ass. Even for its time, its cheeks got clapped by the ugly stick. Bear in mind, it came out the same year as Heavy Rain, Mass Effect 2, God of War 3, and Red Dead Redemption. And I do hate comparing games, but whenever I mention bad graphics in my videos, some dumbass in the comment section is like, well, of course they bad, it old game, you just nitpicky. No, please, clean the dribble from your mouth, it was bad even for its time.
Yeah, I'm also gonna have to agree. This is not about nitpicking. This game's graphics are not... They're not that good, guys, I'm sorry. They're just not that good. But you know what? It kind of reminds me of Grand Theft Auto. Maybe 3 or 4. Yeah, it kind of gives me that feeling about it. Yeah.
Models and animation are whack, the UI is grotesque, and even the sounds are generic. Like, listen to the gun. I mean, come on, man, you're not even trying. Interior locations are mostly fine and nothing offensive. The real problem begins in the outside sections with painfully generic landscapes and constant frame rate drops. I played it all the way through on both PC and the Switch while making this video, and I have to recommend the latter. You're still lucky to push 15 FPS at the best of times, but it's way more stable. Gathering the footage for this video on PC was a nightmare. Performance aside, I will concede that the weird models and animations, in a way, it works in tandem with the bizarre story. I couldn't imagine a game this crazy having perfect graphics. York's janky smile and the compressed turkey sandwiches are a perfect representation of what this game stands for. Inside the victim's house, we find her mother, who's despondent with grief. She asks us to find her daughter's favourite dress for the funeral, and being compassionate men, we agree to help. Finding the gown in a walk-in wardrobe, we hand it over to the mother, who's having a full-on mental breakdown.
The dress! This is Anna's dress!
Or she's possessed. I don't know. Spinning with the dress, a key falls out, a key to Anna's locked bedroom. Letting ourselves in, we look through her belongings and find a diary that specifies some suspicious going-ons.
The first time he used it on me, it was so amazing. He doesn't let anything slip. I'm really worried about Becky. Zack.
What did he use on you? Okay.
This could be more interesting than I thought.
This information doesn't change anything. There's no branching plot lines, but I love that the game trusts the player's intelligence enough to let them head there and actually do some detective work.
The dress! This is Anna's dress!
Mooching back to the old station, we're introduced to another deputy, Thomas, with his...
Okay, Thomas. Let me just write this down. He's a deputy. How many deputies does a local police station have? Does it have more than 2, 3, 4, 5? And then, you know, you have the chief. Huh.
It's a unique run. We ask him for the case files and he runs off to grab them, giving us a chance to explore the building. Nothing special aside from the sheriff's office, and that room is dripped out.
It's the epitome of the old frontier sheriff's office. It's perfect.
He even gives us a little side hustle, finding his missing dumbbells.
Can't finish my workout menu without them.
And when we return them, the chief gives us a good show. This is the peak male form. Returning to Thomas, the locker is holding true to its name. It's locked, and the key is missing, which means we have to run around the station and find the right one. There are a bunch of keys scattered about, with the majority being duds.
Is this the one you were looking for?
No.
The one we want is in the cell block below. We grab it from the messy cell in the middle and bring it back to Thomas, where the team gather and discuss the crime.
The victim's name was Anna Graham. Age 18, she just recently graduated from high school this year.
After which they agree to head to the hospital for the autopsy.
The autopsy's ready. You are welcome to accompany me to the Greenvale General Hospital.
And now here I have to introduce a big part of maximizing your Deadly Premonition playthrough, chapter replay.
Previously during the investigation.
After you've completed a chapter, you can replay it at any time. This sounds very common, I know, but the biggest change here is that anything you do before finishing the chapter is carried across into your current save file, from items gathered to side quests completed.
Girls will be girls.
This is very important in Deadly Premonition, because some side missions can't be completed until others have been finished. This would typically require the player waiting until much later in the game to get better gear, but using chapter replay, you can skip the wait altogether.
Amazing.
This is most prevalent in Chapter 2, where you can unlock a vital piece of equipment, the radio. And no, it doesn't create static to alert us of enemies. It actually allows us to fast travel to locations we've already visited. This is a
that is good. That is good, considering how much driving you have to do in this town. You know, if you had the ability to just teleport to, you know, the key important areas, that is a huge change and advantage, definitely.
Lifesaver, given how far apart locations are and how often the game crashes between journeys. You get the radio from George, of all people. After finding his dumbbell in the police station, when we reload that chapter, we head over to his house where we find him inside tending for his sick mother.
George, which do you prefer, mustard or hot sauce?
She's close to the end, so he asks us to find a beautiful flower to raise her spirits.
My mother really liked this flower.
Flower?
Yes. Small flower, no name.
We agree.
Small flower, no name. Okay.
To get it, and I don't know how anyone could find this flower without the internet. What you have to do is head miles to the east, sleep at this random, inconspicuous roadside until it starts raining on a stormy evening, and only then can you find this flower growing by a tree a few miles up. I suppose because
I kind of like the raincoat, it's cool.
of how helpful it is, they wanted people to put a little hard work to get it, not just stumble across it by accident. Flower in hand, we return it to George, who's still not our friend, but is very thankful, offering us a radio as thanks.
It's an emergency police radio.
All we have to do now is finish the short chapter, load back into our regular save, and it's ready and waiting. Hallelujah. Anyway, to the hospital we go. Inside, we asked to see the doctor in charge of the autopsy.
Nice to meet you, Mr. FBI agent.
Very nice to meet you, too. I'm FBI Special Agent Francis York Morgan.
I love how York can't wait to tell people he's a special agent.
I would do the same thing. Like, guys, I worked hard to become an FBI agent. Anytime I have, you know, I'm gonna whip out my FBI agent badge and say, yes, I'm Agent Solo ReacTalk. I will do it. I will do it.
Even after they've already said they know who he is.
They must know. They must know.
The doctor's in the computer room, as in a room with the hospital's singular computer. York remarks about how he'd like to blow Emily's back out before we head over, solve a quick chess puzzle, and learn that the doctor is already in the morgue. Thanks for wasting our time. Eventually we track down this elusive doctor.
Dr. what? Usher Johnson. Okay.
And get the autopsy underway.
The direct cause of death was loss of blood from the wound.
Which means
she was cut up while she was still alive.
The killing was savage and slow, with Anna being carved up while still alive. This information makes Emily visibly distressed, unlike York, who seems used to the violence.
Now, the killer most likely has a deep, traumatized past concerning women.
Usher takes a shot at profiling the killer, something that pisses York off, and he shuts him down.
Usher, please, limit your report to your findings as a doctor.
Oh. Drama.
It would seem York doesn't like people trying to do his job. Catty and hypocritical, because immediately after he asks to inspect the body himself.
She was killed under a roof somewhere. She was then carried into the woods after it stopped raining.
But the real find is when York looks at the back of her mouth, finding a red seed.
jackpot, Zack.
This prompts York to take full control, because this case is officially linked to his previous investigations. Also, the fact that the killer's trademark is placing something in their victim's throat could relate to how the shadows attack York.
Is that a pill or is that a seed? And it looks red in color. Interesting. But what does it all mean? Why do that?
Go on ahead. I can't take it any longer down here.
Jones in for another smoke, he steps outside the lab, only to be transported to the nightmare world once again.
Okay. Is he the only one who can see this, or can everybody else see this? I think we're gonna figure that out right now.
The others are gone from the autopsy room, and if we look at the wall, the clock is spinning frantically, really hammering home that wherever we are, it doesn't abide by the laws of nature. It's a place outside of time.
Alright. So, they're not here, nobody's here, it's just him and, you know, all that's going around in this hospital. So, is it still in his head, or was he teleported into this alternate dimension? Yeah. Okay.
Our way through the hospital, I now realised why there was so much empty space beforehand. It was waiting to be used for this section. Basically, anytime you see a large area in this game, you're probably due a nightmare. Grabbing the required keycards, we head for the front door when a new enemy arrives, or I suppose the same enemy with a new weapon, a shotgun. Their damage is pretty high, but they take roughly 45 minutes and 37 seconds to take a shot. Maybe some slight exaggeration there, but basically you can always either hide or kill them before they can do anything to you.
But then what is this? What is... And he charges up the weapon and then... BAM! Wow.
Enemies cleared, we return to the normal world without ceremony, as if we never left. And at this point, the other world is raising a lot of questions. What exactly is it? Does anyone else see it? And why does no one seem to notice that we're gone? Questions out the yazoo. And if you thought the weird shit was about to end there, think again. Because Harry Stewart's about to roll up. This Combine soldier looking ass owns half the town, and he speaks in rhymes delivered by his assistant.
Why does he look like, what was his name again? Ghost. From Call of Duty Modern Warfare, what is it, 4? I can't remember. But yeah, the Modern Warfare series, he looks like Ghost with his skull mask, and then of course he has these rebreather kind of contraption on his face. That's something that Ghost doesn't have, but yeah, it's interesting.
Won't lead you to what you seek. Keep your eyes focused on your footing as we speak. So says Mr. Stewart.
After delivering more cryptic lines, he leaves us with, dare I say it, even more questions.
With each rain, our town goes mad. To our disdain, unpreventable. So sad.
Thankfully,
okay.
This little powwow is cut short when someone radios through to let us know the twins are ready for interviewing.
You can interview them where they found the dead body.
Excellent.
At the forest, the twins are sat on a log just in front of the crime scene.
You see that? Twins. Just like in my dream.
Much like the angel twins, these guys are plain weird.
She was a goddess. She smiled when she saw us. She looked so happy.
Talking about Anna, they refer to her as the goddess of the forest, believing she was turned into some kind of deity rather than having been murdered.
Most useful information, boys.
Statements taken, we have an opportunity to examine the crime scene and build a criminal profile based on clues in the area.
This is where Anna's body was.
Every time we find a new clue, York will build a criminal profile that shows how evidence fits into the grander scheme of things. Inspecting the tree, we find knee imprints in the dirt and a picture of a man with an upside down peace tattoo on his back. The last two items we have to find are a bitch when you don't know where to look because they're hidden in birds' nests.
Now, how are you supposed to figure that out? Definitely you need to have Google when you play this game. You need the internet.
Putting this data together, we have some very interesting insights. For starters, the heel doesn't belong to Anna, and it proves that someone else was present at the scene around the same time.
Miss Stiletto Heels is a third party here. She's not the murderer.
We also know that whoever killed Anna, they knelt in front of the tree and worshipped the display.
He was kneeling to pray in front of her. Just like the twins said. She was a goddess.
Not only that, but we know that they have a giant tattoo on their back.
I guess this is meant to be an anti-peace sentiment then.
Finally, the rusty chip. Well, there's only one place in town it could come from.
The old lumber mill.
This is the first real lead in our investigation, and we're keen to follow it right to the source.
I'm going in alone. You two stay here.
No, you need backup. You need backup. Don't go alone.
Outside the mill, we tell George and Emily to secure the perimeter while we head in to investigate, something George isn't happy about.
You're not the only professional law enforcement officer here, Agent Morgan.
But hey, fuck that little bitch. We got our way too superior ranking cocks to swing about.
Totally Pointless TV. What do you have against George? What do you have against George, man? You keep putting him down. Why? Is there something you want to tell us? You know?
So we keep him in line.
To me, the outsider FBI agent, every citizen of this town is a suspect.
I've never been so insulted.
Inside, we enter another nightmare, with more shadows to deal with on our way to the central chamber.
Bullseye. Amazing.
And once there, we stumble across some kind of ritual site with an altar of threaded cloth at the center.
Just as I thought, Zack. This is where Anna was killed.
These crime scenes with their overly elaborate setups remind me a lot of the Hannibal show. Even how Will Graham profiles the killers is very similar to York's approach. There's a mannequin on the altar with enough seating for 4 people to sit and view this platform. A coincidence or a clue? I don't know, but what
I think it's a clue, you know. I think there's more than just 2 people. Maybe it's 3 or 4 people because of all the sofas there.
Do know is some fucking legend left a whole ass MP5 just resting on the spine. This puppy will tear through anything you point it at. You just can't beat an MP5, the gentleman's weapon of choice. Entering an office upstairs, the phone rings. Answering it, the game hits us with the most generic sound effect you'll ever hear.
Where are you hiding?
They must have got that from a royalty-free sound website. It's tragic.
Definitely.
The next few areas of the mill are a mix and match of bizarre moments. We have to clear a basement full of spunk. We have to shoot the correct hand gesture on a red tree to get a special door handle. And we have to take a lift that's about 10 times longer than the entire building from the outside. I don't think it's a development oversight though. The other world constantly changes the interior structure of buildings to mess with York's head. Riding the lift up, the platform gets jammed, and to get it moving again, we have to tear long red hair from the cogs.
Ew. Whose red hair is that now?
Unclogged, we reach the top floor and the power goes out, which means we have to restore it to go back down, and this part, it confuses me because we just chose to ride it up, and when it breaks, our objective is to restore the power so we can go back down. Why did we ride it up in the first place then?
What was the point? What was the point? What was all that for? To collect the red hair maybe? And then, you know, take it off for DNA sampling or something? Maybe, but...
Eventually, York arrives at a safe room of sorts with a power switch in the far corner, and turning it on, the phone rings again.
I see you.
With nowhere to run, we have to hide, as a clunky dual screen takes over, showing the killer's perspective while we scramble for safety. This
is actually kind of cool because, you know, you'll be focusing more on that small screen than focusing on your player, you know, as you're trying to look for a way to escape or, you know, use something to defend yourself. You can't because you keep looking at him coming into the door, the guy with the raincoat and the axe. Yeah, so I think this is a good gaming mechanic here.
Few hiding spots to choose from, but you have to find them quick. It doesn't take long for the raincoat killer to break the door down, resulting in a mobile game level death animation. I mean, does that not look like an ad for a shitty mobile game?
Or maybe one of those arcade games in the malls, you know. Do you want to continue? Then you have to put in the tokens.
Speaking of, today's video is sponsored by I'm just playing with you. Hiding in a locker, we get to watch as the killer makes his way around the room at an agonizing pace, occasionally holding your breath to break up the monotony. After a very poor search of the room, the killer freaks out, throws his axe and leaves. It would seem the mysterious stalker doesn't like us making progress, and the fun doesn't end there, because some developer over at Access Games was on the crack pipe and decided to add a QTE running section, and the whole thing is as awful as it sounds. Repeatedly pressing left and right, York will run down the hallway, all the while interacting with the world like an actual bot. The highlight of which is
the camera is facing his face, you know. What's his name again? Morgan, York, right? It's facing his face, and then from the raincoat guy, we can see what's behind, should I say, yes, the back of Morgan. So this is going to be very difficult to navigate, because you don't know what's in front of, you can't really see what's in front of Morgan. You could hit something, or you could be blocked by a wall, and this guy is still right behind you, and he's gonna throw his axe. He's gonna, you know, come closer to you and kill you with his axe. So yeah, this is difficult here.
Him pushing boxes forward instead of simply walking an inch to the left. Even the killer stops to look at us like we're morons there. Why not just let us run on our own? Have the chase cam, but let us control York instead of this cursed QTE. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with the short running section like the boulder scene from Resident Evil 4. But when it lasts for about 10 minutes and has moments where steam knocks you over repeatedly, it's not the one.
How powerful is that steam? No way.
Escaping the killer's clutches and taking the lift down, York thinks he's in the clear, but the dude drops about 10 stories to attack us. Dodging his onslaught, York shoots the control panel, sending him back to whence he came.
But he'll just jump back down.
Despite being a focal point of the game, every interaction with a killer is just awful. Personally, I think he should have been kept a mysterious figure working from the shadows. Instead, he's a fumbling dumbass that appears from behind a rock, misses a simple attack, and then pisses off. Meeting the others outside, York asks about who would be wearing this raincoat.
There's an old story. Folklore. Something about a killer in a raincoat who appears on rainy nights. A vicious killer in a bright red raincoat. Yeah, that was it. Just a foolish piece of superstition. A rubbish story someone made up.
And now, to rule them out as suspects, he wants to see their backs.
Are you satisfied now?
Yes.
George is up next, and while there's no tattoo, there's something else entirely.
Huh?
George.
Clearly the man has demons of his own, but both of them are in the clear. There's no tattoo. So York tells George to gather the townfolk. He wants to see the community he's dealing with.
I'll arrange to have as many as possible gather in the community center tomorrow.
Thank you, George.
The meeting isn't until the next day, so you can either sleep it off or pass time with a nice cig.
Sleep it off, just sleep.
Something the Phantom Pain clearly copied. When 3 rolls round, York takes centre stage and advises the citizens on how to handle this situation.
Please, stay away from any dark, dangerous, isolated places.
Warnings delivered, we have another catch up with Harry, and the asshole has more cryptic rhymes for us.
Pay close attention to the signs, the omens, and the premonitions.
He knows something, but he's not willing to share it yet, so York moves on. Only metaphorically, of course, because the game glitched out and I couldn't move.
But why is Stuart wearing that? The mask and the gas mask. Why? Why is he wearing that? And everybody else seems to be okay with that, but why? You know, is he ill? Huh.
Turns out any attempt to use my gamepad from this point would break it, so I had to go back to the good old keyboard and mouse. With the game being so volatile, I would highly recommend you save every chance you get. Game rebooted, we start questioning people about their involvement with Anna. Hell, I even took a moment to walk down the roads with my MP5. Real warden shit. This section is primarily here to outline the key citizens of Greenvale. From Brian the Insomniac,
Anna, her smile. So warm.
To the self-proclaimed ball-busting general.
Calls himself a general, but isn't that a sergeant's uniform?
None of them seem all that suspicious, other than Nick, the owner of A&G Cafe.
Are you hiding something?
No.
You're sure?
Other than him, the mother of the twins has some interesting information for us.
Something about a special secret between just the 3 of them.
One of Anna's closest friends, Becky, has a secret, and it has something to do with the kids that discovered Anna.
Is Becky still alive? I think we need to question her too.
Big a coincidence, one would think.
Perhaps we should give Becky a visit tomorrow, Zack.
Once you've spoke to everyone, the hall's dismissed and we meet up with the others outside.
We're going out to eat at Nick's Diner. Would you like to come with us?
At the diner, they discuss their historic cases, in particular the more extreme crimes of York City investigations.
He cleaned the skulls up and used them as utensils in his daily life. To eat from or as a urine cup. He was insane. 100%. Drinking from the skulls, well, that is one thing, but those he had used to relieve himself, he would then just use them to drink from, too.
The music doesn't suit what Morgan is talking about right now. Really, the music, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work with what York is saying, really.
Yeah, that was too much for me. It's just not sanitary.
There's no difference to the plot or outcome if you choose to skip these little moments. It just means you won't get to see more of the characters' personalities, which is a shame because there are some gems to be discovered.
Thank you, Agent York. Now, let's talk about something else.
Back in our hotel, we end the day by compiling our findings.
Okay then, Zack. Let's go back over our progress.
During these sections, York quizzes us to see if we remember the details of the day.
Do you remember what that was, Zack? That's right. We found the same red seed in her mouth.
Nothing happens if you get it wrong, you just keep going until you guess the right answer. But with so many characters and plot points flying around throughout the chapters, having these little recaps of the key discoveries, I think it is a good idea.
That's right. A broken stiletto heel.
Crawling into bed, York calls it a night, ending the first episode.
It's starting to rain. I think this case may take a while.
Episode 2 begins with another trip to the Red Room, where we find Rebecca staring at us.
My name is Becky.
She does nothing but repeat her own name before...
Is she dead? I think she's dead. I mean, why else would she be here in this, alternate dimension reality of, FBI agent York Morgan? Like, why would she be here? I think she's dead.
The twins tell York to get out.
Take a sip of coffee and go.
Heading through the back door, we find the kid from earlier, where York realizes it's him when he was a child.
It's me when it happened.
He also remarks about some important event that took place around that age, although we're given no clue as to what that is.
Zack, this case looks like it's directly related to us.
We head for some breakfast, and leaving the room, we bump into another guest.
I didn't think anybody else was here other than Polly. The door opening like that it surprised me, that's all.
This is Forrest Kaysen.
I don't like his smile. This guy seems like he's a suspect. I don't know how, I don't know why, but to me he's just giving me this iffy feeling. Yeah, that smile is just too weird. I'm sorry.
A self-proclaimed bee selling saplings wherever his travels take him.
Sometimes I feel, I don't know, like a jolly old bumblebee spreading pollen.
This dude is suspicious. Positivity in a story like this is a big red flag.
It's not just the positivity, it's the way he's carrying himself, that smile. No. No.
Special Agent Scarface that everyone's yakking about. Nice to meet you, Francis.
Special Agent Scarface? I'd need a bigger scar to live up to that name.
He gifts us a tree sapling before saying his goodbyes and heading off.
Remember what the coffee said? Forrest Kaysen. F.K.
What does FK mean, man? What does that mean?
This show has just begun.
A person of interest, no doubt. But for now, we have to go to the gallery and speak with Diane, the woman most likely to have been wearing our mysterious stiletto.
Let's go and meet Lady Diane.
The building seems empty, with a large piece of abstract art dominating the center of the room. If you can even call it art, someone could get hurt on that thing. The only item of interest is a painting of red trees, and when we inspect it, Olivia, Nick's wife, comes into the lobby looking upset. Chatting to her, she gives it a shaky answer as to why she's there.
I like trees.
Zack, she was lying about something. She said trees, not paintings of trees. She doesn't need to come here to see trees. There's tons of trees outside.
I love how literal York is. She must be lying because there are trees outside. I mean, he's not wrong. She is lying, but I love his reasoning. On her way out, she drops a note and key. The key lets us inside the gallery, and the note refers to paintings and the number of trees on them, but this doesn't mean anything to us right now, so we head deeper to look for Diane.
Zack, something is still missing.
And all of these things that York is collecting, all of these items, is there like a limit of how much he can collect, or can he just collect as much as he wants and then nothing really happens? Like there's no capacity level that he will be reaching. Yeah, I'm just wondering about that.
We need more clues.
The door to Diane's office is locked, and we need a 3-digit combination to get through. Well, this is where Olivia's note comes in handy, because it lets us know that we have to find 3 paintings in the area and use the number of trees in each one as digits for the passcode. 641. In the office, we find Diane arguing with Carola, who takes something from Diane and rushes past us, clearly forgetting her manners.
The FBI agent, right?
Speaking to Diane, we ask where she was at the time of Anna's murder, to which she claims to have been drinking with Nick, the owner of A&G Diner.
I was drinking at the bar with Nick until early morning. I'm sure if you ask him about it, he'll say the same.
Alibi provided, she follows up with some promiscuous remarks.
I could sleep with you, if you like.
I'm flattered by your
Whoa, lady. No, we don't know you that way.
offer, but I don't think that would be appropriate.
Getting nowhere, we leave the gallery with plans to visit the diner and confirm her whereabouts with Nick.
Just as we suspected, Zack. Diane is the key to this case.
At the diner, we need to find the owner, but first, we need to get some fuel in us. So we put our orders in and have a little chit-chat with Emily. Then, our boy Harry pulls up and suggests we try his manky sinner's sandwich, something we reject, but eventually agree to despite how awful it sounds. And that shit is bussin'. Sheesh! Soy faces all around.
Really good. Olivia, I'm sorry, but can I change my order? I'll have what Harry is having.
Aside from being comical, I think it's meant to reinforce the idea that while his actions might seem stupid, maybe even disgusting, he's usually onto something. He's not completely bonkers.
So says Mr. Stewart.
After this, we catch up with Nick, who's able to confirm Diane's alibi. Unsatisfied with his response, we want to talk to his wife. Real casual, you know, see how she feels about getting cucked.
He says he enjoys the conversation with Diane.
Appearing content at first, after we press a little harder, she buckles.
I think you went to the gallery not to see trees, but to see Diane, right?
Wanting to tell us more, but conscious of her husband, she asks us to meet her around back after the shop closes up.
I'll see you in the backyard later.
Outside, Emily heads off and leaves us to pass time until the diner shuts. Now, there have been moments here and there where you can crack on with other tasks, but this is the first moment where the game basically says, hey, we made a whole town for you to explore, go explore it.
The problem is that you're not really exploring the town, you know? You're mainly driving from one point to the next. There isn't anything within walking distance, and it just doesn't really have that, you know, feeling of exploring the town. You're just driving, you're commuting from one point to the next. So that's not really that fun, I guess. That's not really fun, yeah.
Problem is, navigating these country roads can be a nightmare. You can't place any markers, which makes finding anywhere new a ball ache. But okay, let's pretend it's a creative choice. We have to read the maps. Well, in that case, how about letting us fucking zoom more than a few inches out so we can actually see where we are in relation to where we're going? Say you want to reach Harry's mansion. All you can see is his house in the middle of some hills with no ability to recenter on your location. So the best bet is to just randomly follow the roads and hope you stumble across a location you recognize. Worse still is the map automatically reorientates to face the direction you are in the world without an ability to rotate it manually. So when you're en route and you check back to see if you're heading in the right direction, it's super easy to get yourself turned around. Either having custom—
Man, this will frustrate me. This will definitely frustrate me. Oh.
The markers or just letting us do a full zoom out would have done wonders for this game.
In fact, maybe they also should have put some road signs to say that this road is heading to this specific destination, this road is heading to that specific destination, you know. Anyways.
Moment to moment gameplay. Don't get me wrong, making an open world game, specifically an open world horror game, is an enormous undertaking. And if you want proof of this, look no further than a little game called Alan Wake. Alan Wake originally began development as a fully open world experience. The town of Bright Falls was meant to be open to Alan between missions, with a full town to explore, a time schedule to deal with, and a lighthouse to reach before nighttime when enemies would arrive. So Remedy, despite being a multi-award-winning studio with a huge depth of experience, had to pull the plug on the open world concept because it was a nightmare to get right. And while, in fairness, they were going for more fidelity than Deadly Premonition could even dream of, it goes to show that the ambition of what they tried in this game is insane. Having anything to show for it is almost a victory in itself. But back to my point on navigating the town of Greenvale, I suppose there is a joy in perseverance to it. When I first started driving around, I fucking hated it. But as the game progressed and I became familiar with the town and was able to rely on my own knowledge of directions, it became fun because I knew the town like it was my own little village. I knew the quickest route to the town hall from the police station, or how to reach Emily's house from the local shops. So in that sense, it really is special. I just don't think a lot of people will have the patience it requires to push through that initial awkwardness. In any
Yeah, I also want to agree with that. Like I said before, the driving in this game kind of also reminds me of Grand Theft Auto in a way, in terms of, you know, how I see Totally Pointless TV driving his car and, you know, driving through this community, through this wide open space. It really reminds me of a Grand Theft Auto kind of game. So yeah, it has its moments. It has its moments. It's just that there seems to be a lot of things that are trying to drag it down. Like the music placement, I'm not sure about that. Some of the music soundtracks do sound nice. It's just that maybe they don't suit the type of cinematics that we're seeing, or if it's a fighting, you know, part of the game, and then they play some sort of happy, cheery jingle music. Like, no.
case, when 9 rolls round, we head to the diner and speak to Olivia, where she confesses all.
And they eventually left the bar and headed for the art gallery.
She saw Nick and Diane leaving the bar the night of Anna's murder, an important detail they both neglected to mention, which makes them the prime suspects.
York, we ought to take Nick in for questioning.
These revelations are interrupted though when we get an emergency call.
I've just received word from Thomas at the sheriff's department. Something has happened at Becky's house.
Something's happening at Becky's house.
Look at York's face. He's grown a beard just like me, but he looks so cool. Yeah, you look cool, man. Keep it up.
And with the rain hammering down on us, we do the mad dash cross country to see what's going on.
Do you guys remember what Stuart said about the rain? That every time it rains, there is madness or something? Yeah, so probably something bad is gonna happen here because it's raining. Yeah. Okay, Stuart.
At Becky's estate, Quint, her boyfriend, is outside, repeating her name and crying. This doesn't look good.
Call George and tell him to get over here and wait out here. I'm going inside.
Stepping inside, we're sent to the other world with the Raincoat Killer in quick pursuit. This haunted mansion is a fun area to explore, a resident of evil, some might say, with mazes of furniture and creepy music box jingles punctuating the exploration. I would say overall it's the scariest area of the game. It definitely tries to present the shadows as actually fearsome entities. Although, despite marketing itself as a survival horror, I don't think it is. The game even reminds you not to take the enemy seriously at every turn.
I mean, I can't take them seriously when they walk like that. I can't take them seriously when they aim their guns with such slow motion kind of effects, you know, and then bang! Nah, I can't take that serious.
Orc stroking one out every time he gets a headshot. Oh man, nice cock. The game's more about thrilling surrealism, crafting bizarre scenarios and confusing the shit out of us. In regards to the survival aspect, mechanically, the combat's bang average. I've played much worse, but also much better. Allegedly, the combat sections of Deadly Premonition were only added last minute after the publisher was worried that the game wouldn't sell in the West without them. And based on its implementation, I wouldn't be too surprised, with one of the weirdest decisions being the starting weapon. Amazing. a relatively powerful 9mm pistol with, oh yeah, unlimited ammo. Typically, if the player has the ability to fight back, you want to limit or minimize their strength. It adds a sense of tension to the combat. Infinite ammo from the get-go trivializes the creatures, and it completely removes the need for melee weapons.
I'd still choose the melee weapon though. I mean, yeah, the pistol is cool, you can shoot from a distance, but hitting with a pipe, that just, you know, it just has that extra.
But back to the mansion, and you'll be glad to hear there's another hiding section, except this time I hid under a teeny little side table, which is hilariously stupid. Like, look at this dumbass. I can see the damn killer seeing me. The whole section feels like one of those shoulda gone to Specsavers ads. I was half tempted to just stay under the table out of pure shame. But Becky was in trouble, so I finished finding the clues, and once gathered, we arrived back in the regular world.
The raincoat killer gave Becky a visit. Hold on.
Walking into the bathroom, we find Rebecca.
Really? They used this audio piece? Oh wow, guys, wow.
Presented in an elaborate and violent display with similar theatrics to Anna's, except this time, she's alive. In a panic, George rushes to save her, preparing to cut the metal cables suspending her body, something York orders him not to do, but George doesn't listen and cuts the wire. The wire and cloth spring back, wrapping around Becky's neck. The killer's claimed a second victim. With Becky's final breath, York is transported to a forest where he watches Anna reaching out to her before she coughs up a key. Using this key, we open a safe hidden in her bedroom, finding a journal inside. It's empty with the last page torn out, so we have to use a pencil to lightly sketch over the indent and read the last message. The missing heel is from Becky. The twins have whatever Anna was clutching, and Diane is Becky's sister. It also seems that some unknown lover is at the root of these problems. We still have no idea who that is, but for now, we need to see what Becky gave the twins. They're at the community centre, being looked after by Kaysen, whom the parents barely even know.
Why is Kaysen there? No man, that is just weird. But okay.
Kids love them, so we let them take them out every once in a while.
Great parenting, you
Wait, that's the dad? Ah.
Looking douche. At the community centre, we ask the twins about Becky, and they take some convincing, not wanting to break their promise of secrecy.
No, we can't. It won't be a secret if we tell.
But eventually they crack, explaining that they handed the goods over to Diane, which must be what we saw Carol shouting about earlier that day.
I can put it to far better use. I'm taking it with me, okay?
And while we're here, we have a little word with Kaysen for good measure.
From this instant, you are now a key witness in this case. I'm afraid you can't leave town until you hear from me.
What?
Having put the fear of God into the man, we get a short recap where York concludes that Diane is our biggest suspect.
Zack, that's our next move. We'll start with Diane.
So back at the station, we formulate a plan. We're gonna wait outside the bar and tail Nick, see where he goes. Let's just hope he doesn't go home to his wife. Monogamy would be a real bummer right now.
It's Nick.
Okay.
Man, I didn't even know Nick was married. Huh?
Time to play with the big boys, Nick.
Now, tailing missions aren't all that fun at the best of times, and here, with the janky controls and overly long journey, it is not the best of times.
Yeah, no, this takes patience. It takes patience and diligence as well, you know. You have to make sure that you're following the suspect, but you can't, you know, be too obvious about it, because then Nick is just going to run away. Then probably it will be game over.
Driving barely above the lowest speed, we have to start and stop like our engine is giving out. How he didn't notice us is anyone's guess. I was hardly being inconspicuous.
Switch off the... yeah, switch off the sirens, bruh, and the lights.
And the real kicker is that it was all for naught, because after following him for about 10 minutes, just a few roads down from the gallery, a truck comes out of nowhere, causing York to swerve, narrowly avoiding a crash.
Man, this is always happening to you, York. And still, you're not wearing a seatbelt. And neither are the deputies. Hey, you guys are supposed to be law enforcement, but look what you're doing here.
And in all this commotion, Nick leaves us in the dust. Pulling up to the gallery, George is waiting outside, having kept an eye on and claiming not to have seen Nick or Diane.
No action here at all. Did something happen?
Unfortunately, he also admits to having had a little tipple to take the edge off, so how accurate his word is right now is up for question. The front door's locked, but we're in luck because there's a hidden path around back where we find a small shack and a secret passage inside. All we have to do is follow this tight underground tunnel with thick trails of blood smeared on the ceiling. Could this...
That is not a good sign.
Be foreshadowing. Further down this tunnel with ambient banging sounds mounting up, a vent bursts open and from it a new enemy emerges.
A new enemy? Isn't that just a shadow? Yeah, it looks like a shadow.
The Crawler, Deadly Premonition's strongest enemy, with long hair and sickly pale skin. They almost look like a semi-visible Sadako. They hit harder, move faster, and take more bullets to put down, but their attacks can be instantly dodged with a QTE, so really, they're no trouble. The only problem with their design is the iframes. I hate iframes in video games. 90% of the time spent fighting this creature is just waiting for her animation to finish so she can take damage. Through the tunnel, we arrive at the lobby, with the weird centerpiece having been replaced by the same demonic tree from the mill.
Yeah, everything has changed. I think we are in his alternate dimension reality kind of thing. We're not in that same house, really. It just doesn't look the same. Like, everything is dilapidated, bloody. Even the art piece looks a bit weird there. Yeah.
Much noise. We're still missing a vital piece of the puzzle.
Wait a minute. You have a cigar in your you have a cigarette in your mouth, but then you also have a cigarette in your hand. Like, what's going on there?
Part would be best described as a pseudo-puzzle. We have to shoot 3 apples off the tree and place them in front of the painting they correlate to. What would have been clever would be making the ripeness of the apple match the age of the person in the painting, but I guess they thought that was too hard. So instead they literally add the apple to the painting, so there's almost no point to this section. Sadly, a lot of the puzzles in this game don't trust the player's intelligence, which is slightly bizarre because most of the game couldn't care less about your ability to figure stuff out. Yet when it comes to the puzzles, it spoon feeds you the answer, and I for one like a good puzzle in my games. Apples restored, more shadows attack us, but this time they materialize from the paintings on the walls. One of them even drops a shotty, offering effective crowd control. It basically does a hit scan of anything your camera's facing and Alt F4s the fuckers.
Wow, so they also use pipes. They use guns, they use pipes as well. Interesting.
In the back rooms, we gather up a few more clues before returning to the regular world, where we find ourselves again face to face with the killer's sadistic display, featuring Diane suspended above her art and Nick unconscious on the floor. It seems that all these murders are done to showcase the victim in some way. As Will Graham would say, this is my design.
Diane?
But just like Becky, Diane isn't dead.
She's still alive.
Problem is,
please don't cut any wires. Don't do any of that. Remember what happened to Becky? Please don't do that.
She's only loosely tied above the sharp artwork, and in her state of confusion, she's about to wiggle herself free. In all this chaos, George goes full Chris Redfield boulder punch, tearing metal cables from the wall in an attempt to knock the artwork over.
I just said, George. Oh.
And call me a hater, but those cables literally don't exist until this scene. Truly a spooky occurrence. York isn't content with letting this woman fall though, so in a feat of gravity-defying action, he dives off the banister and tackles her mid-fall. Bro doesn't even get a run-up, just springs from the wall like it's no one's business.
Okay. George.
Now, if you thought that was nuts, just you wait. I'm not even going to narrate this next part. I'm going to just let it play out.
Diane. Oh, yeah. What a beautiful beast. Every woman will find herself.
What? Are those the seeds?
Diane! Stop right there, Nick. You're under arrest for the attempted murder of Diane Ames.
Back off! Don't touch me!
Diane, no! Move!
Emily, hurry!
Emily, oh, you're okay. Okay, now what about Diana?
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what Deadly Premonition is all about. Pure madness. Her reaction seems to be an extreme form of shock, but damn, she really isn't helping herself. And now, one of our best leads is dead, with Nick claiming he has no idea who done it.
Yeah, but now why did you fight against the police officer arresting you, you know? If you're innocent, then there's nothing wrong. They're not going to find any evidence on you or against you. So why were you fighting against George? Don't touch me. Arrest this guy.
Tension doesn't last long though, because Kaysen's dog arrives, barking at us to follow it.
I think he wants us to follow him. Shall we follow Zack?
Arriving at Diane's office, we discover a secret room hidden behind a wardrobe with a locked hatch. Shooting the lock, who should appear but the man himself, Kaysen.
You're now a suspect, and you need to tell me exactly what you were doing here.
Okay. I came here to be with Diane. You happy now? Anyway, how—
But Diana has Nick. So who are you? I don't trust this guy. I don't believe any word that comes out of his mouth. No ways.
How could I kill Diane if I was in a room locked from the outside?
Now, dodgy the lad may be, unless he's pulling a Houdini, this does prove his innocence in regards to Diane. He couldn't have killed her while in a room locked from the outside, which only leaves one option. The dog. Willie was behind it the whole time.
Zack, let's get back to the hotel.
No, there must be a reason why he's there. It can't be just because he was here to be with Diane. No, I don't believe that. I just can't believe that.
Hotel.
Before calling it a day, George pulls us for a chat.
If possible, I'd like to go to a bar.
Beers with the bro. Oh, count me in. Over at Galaxy of Terror, we have a brewski with a broski where he opens up about his scarred back.
This is my mother. She did it. If I ate too slow, left my shoes scattered around, TV volume too loud, she found reasons to hit me.
It's a scene that humanizes George. You understand why he's so upset by the murders, other than, you know, being murders. He knows what it's like to be weak, defenseless. He joined the police to help people, and now he's failing.
York, I'm sorry. I'll follow your orders from now on. You'll have my total cooperation.
Just as York's about to leave, Emily arrives, dressed to impress.
Zack, Emily is already a goddess of the forest.
Why is she here?
I just thought the more the merrier.
George decides to dig.
Ooh, Emily. Oh, and you guys met so well. Emily and York. You know, he's got that suit and tie fix there, and then Emily has a nice dress. The environment, you know, the red sofas and the darkness in this, what is it, restaurant. Yeah, nice date.
And once gone, York asks about the awkward tension between them.
He did ask me out when I first came to town. I was still in high school. But
What? But I never really considered him my type. Lady, you are a teenager. And I'm sure George was like in his 30s or something when he asked you out. No, it's not even about type. It's not even about type. It's wrong.
I never really considered him my type.
Yeah, that would make Emily legally a child when George, an adult, made his move. No one seems to care about that. Episode 2 complete, we retire to our hotel, but before York drifts off, we get a knock at the door. It's Emily again. Not looking for a quickie, sorry to disappoint. This game's no Mass Effect, but rather...
Totally pointless TV, man. Don't do that to us, okay?
Wanting to know more about York.
My father was always quiet. We never talked much. He was a federal agent, just like me.
During this conversation, she asks a very important question. Who the hell is Zack?
We all want to know.
Turns out the voice came to him after a traumatic event from his childhood.
I woke up one morning to hear my mother crying in the living room. My father was there pointing a gun at my mother. I was so scared. But I do remember the words my father said to me. At times we must purge things from this world because they should not exist. He shot my mother and then killed himself.
So
wow. Man, that's terrible. That's really terrible. I just have to discuss about this, that, you know, the cigarette. The cigarette in his mouth is still in his mouth as he's talking so normally. Like, he's not fumbling on his words or anything. It's just stuck in there like that. And it's not, you know, being spat out. But anyways, back to the story. Yes, it's a very tragic and painful memory, definitely.
Zack is a coping mechanism, almost an imaginary friend created to help a young York bear the burden of his father's actions. Changing the awkward subject, Emily thanks us for saving her life earlier, and we call it a night.
I think she's starting to have certain feelings for you. If that's the case, Zack, you and I are rivals.
We get two interesting cutaways from here. Firstly, we see Nick crying out for Thomas in his cell.
Thomas!
Why?
Then we see Carola crying with an unknown person in what looks like a BDSM dungeon, with the missing medallion hanging from a mannequin behind them. Episode 3 again opens in the dreamlike space, but this time it's not red, it's white, with endless rows of doors to run through. Eventually...
It's actually quite beautiful. I actually like it this way, you know? Yeah, it's nice.
We stumble across a man clad in white staring at us. From the marks on his neck, it appears to be Harry, and he has a question for us.
Harry Stewart? Wow. Oh, wow.
You still want to enter?
Agreeing to head in alone, we see a reenactment of York's father killing his mother.
Seriously? Seriously, they're gonna play that sound clip again? Come on, guys, come on.
And again, the cheap noises ruin an otherwise decent scene. Waking up, we grab a coffee and go to talk to Polly, or at least we should be, but the game's audio went crazy here. What he's meant to say is, oh hey, look at the coffee stain on the newspaper.
But at least the subtitles, so we can read that, you know.
Specifically outlines letters that spell Harry. I must have to go see Harry. If anyone needs any VA work, just drop me an email. Good old coffee though, always coming in clutch. Outside, we run into Emily, who asks if we've seen Thomas, because he's missing. And despite a missing person being a massive red flag, especially in the current situation, we tell Emily to look for Thomas, and instead of helping, we go to see Harry, because, you know, coffee.
Emily, I'm going to see Harry today. He did invite me over, though. It would be bad manners not to accept.
A massive gate blocks the driveway to Harry's estate, and to get in, we approach the camera and speak to his assistant.
Finally, you have arrived.
He lets us through and opens the door to Harry's office by entering a few keys on a piano.
Is that really necessary? Ugh, rich people.
Not Claire de Lune, but hey, it's still interesting. Ooh, look, quirky rich person shit. Inside, we have to solve a little puzzle before meeting the grand Mr. Stewart, which involves us finding the correct umbrellas from various bedrooms and assigning them to 3 statues outside. It glows green when you get it right, so you can just keep on guessing until you've got the right one. But if that's too challenging, a music sheet in the hallway will just straight up solve it for you. Umbrellas replaced, we enter Harry's office for a chat, but he refuses to help until we have some tea.
Some tea with sugar is what's best admired.
By your body that looks so tired.
He doesn't take tea. He takes coffee, guys. So I don't know if it's going to be welcomed by York.
Is this motherfucker British or something? Opening the sugar pot, we find no less than a pile of the red seeds.
Harry, where did you get these seeds?
Of course, instead of telling us what he knows, he offers us a riddle to solve. The game spoils this puzzle as well, telling us exactly where to go. The graveyard.
So let's get going to the graveyard.
Whizzing over, we speak to Lurch, who informs us that the red seeds are flowering just behind the cemetery.
Whoa, those are beautiful trees there, though. I won't lie. But what is the significance behind these seeds exactly? Because we're seeing them in a lot of these victims. You know, those who have been killed. They have these seeds in their mouths, but why? What's the purpose to all of that? And Thomas, man, he might be the first male, you know, victim in the story so far, because all the other victims were female. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Zack, mission accomplished.
Seeds located, we hurry back to Harry, solve another puzzle, and enter what looks like an observation room with glass windows looking over the countryside. For the first time, Harry directly speaks to us, dropping bombshells of useful information.
The raincoat killer is also real, but under a strict gag order. The mass murder case was never made public.
It appears...
Okay, so it's real. The guy in the raincoat is real. How come nobody else can see him though? You know, like when he was in the lumber mill, you know, factory. No one. Well, yeah, because he was fighting against York alone inside the lumber mill facility. So of course no one would see him there. I don't know. No, in the hospital, he only fought against the shadows. Yes. Where else did he fight against this guy? Okay, I can't remember, but alright.
Conspiracy is afoot, and at a government level no less, with the military having covered up the original Raincoat murders.
But if there are no records about it, then how do you know it really happened?
The answer is very simple. I was there.
Naturally, we ponder, why would they do this? To which he says, not important. Let's talk about the new killer.
What we need to talk about is your raincoat killer, the new raincoat killer.
The fact that Harry's so specific with new killer means he's certain it's not the old one from before. An interesting distinction that raises the question, how is he so sure? Regardless, he is willing to share why the killer's carrying out these murders.
If you eat the red seeds and then kill someone, you will become immortal.
Wow, interesting. If you eat the red seeds and you kill someone, you'll become immortal. Okay. Huh. But then there were red seeds in the victims' mouths. Were they trying to become immortal or what? What's happening with that? Huh.
Thankfully, we're not completely out of leads either, because during the last murder spree, the previous sheriff investigated them in his spare time, and the records of this are stored away at the police station.
I need you to bring those documents here to me.
George takes some convincing to this idea. He doesn't believe the files exist, and even if they do, he doesn't want to hand them over to some rich weirdo.
The Raincoat Killer is a phantom, made up to scare children long ago. I can't believe you fell for that from Harry, of all people.
Reluctantly, he agrees, telling us to find them our goddamn selves, and on our way, the station transforms, meaning we have to fight our way through to reach the files, and of course, things were never going to be that easy, because the files have been nicked.
The cabinet looks like it had been forced open.
This is problematic, because the only other person with access is Thomas, who only this morning has gone AWOL.
You don't mean Thomas?
It's too early to speculate.
Here, the investigation grinds to a halt. We have no idea where Thomas is, and even less chances of finding the files. So, York trusts the old reliable, a nice strong coffee, which does not disappoint.
Taste aside, this cup certainly is perfect.
Yeah, this guy. This guy. I wish I had that power too, you know. Really, I do wish I had that power. Yeah, it's possible that Thomas might be one of the, you know, perpetrators of all these killings, but I don't know. I don't know enough about him. Like, we've only seen him a few times. And don't you guys have like TV cameras for the file room? You know, there should be some sort of internal security just to make sure that you know what's going on inside the police station. Yeah. Thomas. I would have thought that maybe he would be abducted by, you know, the Raincoat Killer or by someone who works for the Raincoat Killer. But he might actually be a perpetrator, you know, one of the culprits.
George, Emily, we're going to Valvet Falls.
That's right, we're fishing now, and it's fucking awful. Regardless, with a whole lot of patience, we get what we're looking for. The missing archives, which outline the same legend Harry warned us about. And all the notes on the file are written in a familiar handwriting.
It's Thomas's.
Thomas is now the investigation's biggest suspect.
Guys, the graphics there were very bad. You know, you saw the lake and then you saw the gravel shoreline there. That was just so bad. Sorry.
So while George and Emily hunt him down, we march our sweet ass back to Harry looking for some answers. In his main hall, we stumble across a painting that shows all the murder victims and Emily, or at least a blur that looks like her.
Zack, look.
Oh no, is that like a foretelling of what might happen to Emily? Is that like a foreshadowing? Sorry. Yeah, probably. Oh no, Emily.
Examining it closer, the entrance is blocked and the mansion transforms, which can only mean we're getting somewhere. In Harry's office, we open a secret passage and head down a long tunnel lined with books, and at the end find a secret observation room.
Looks like we're out of the countryside and back in civilization.
Blast doors close behind us and we hand over the files.
I brought the documents. Just what is going on in here?
Competence proven, Harry finally fills us in on what really happened the night of the original murders.
I moved closer and saw that they were fiddling with some kind of device. The device was emitting purple smoke outside.
As part of a top secret experiment, the government...
Wait a minute. This guy, this big guy here, the way he's walking, there's someone else who walks just the same way. We know who it is, right? It's that guy Kingsley, right? That's how you pronounce his name, right? Yeah, Kingsley or something like that. Yes, it's him. I see you.
Used Greenvale to test an unknown chemical, spreading the mist from the clock tower, and when inhaled, it drove the citizens violently insane. Frightened, Harry drove away from the clock tower, down to the town centre, where he saw a man dressed in the infamous raincoat, killing anyone that got near. And it's not just any man, it was someone Harry knew all too well.
Without thinking, I took a branch and attacked the man in the raincoat.
That's a pipe, buddy. The story and animation teams clearly weren't talking that day.
The face beneath the hood was that of my father, painted with an expression I had never seen before. Hatred and angst.
So that's the tale, which even explains why shit gets weird on rainy nights. The remnants of the gas absorbed by the soil will seep back into the air. This is why Harry wears his mask. It keeps him safe from the toxic air. Apparently out of country pride, the older generation kept this event secret, agreeing to never speak about it, which is a weak way of explaining why no one seems to know about the murders. I know country people, I grew up in the country. I don't think they'd cover up government mass murder because gosh darn we sure is prude.
York! Good news! You'll hear from George soon. They have found Thomas.
Before leaving, we ask why he's helping us, to which Harry responds with a very notable remark.
At times we must purge things from this world because they should not exist.
The same...
Yeah, that's the same thing his dad said before he killed his mom. York's dad. Oh.
Same line York's father said before murdering his mother, leaving with a few more pieces of the puzzle.
Is this your dad? No, it can't be.
We run into Emily, and as Harry predicted...
Wait, what are you wearing? When did you change into that? Never mind.
they found Thomas.
George is heading over there already. Let's get a move on.
Outside his flat, we're greeted by George, who's kept an eye on the property to make sure the slippery bugger didn't escape.
I saw a tall male silhouette in the window. It was Thomas.
Perimeter secured, York heads in to nab the bugger. But sadly, there's no dice. The flat's empty.
We're still missing a vital piece of the puzzle.
He has, however, left all sorts of clues for us to gather, most important of which being a red wig, which apparently confirms York's suspicions. Personally, pagan like me had no idea what these suspicions were, but finding the other clues, it becomes very clear. Thomas is the red-haired woman we saw at the end of chapter 2.
Wait, then who's embracing him there? Who's that lady?
Secret female identity could even be a reference to Buffalo Bill, the killer from Silence of the Lambs, who also abducted and killed women and even stored objects at the back of their mouths. While York's mulling over the case, Thomas apparently throws something through the window, shattering a lamp.
Huh?
It seems he's not finished with us just yet, and he also wants us to know he's still in the area.
We need to seal off all routes out of town.
Emily and George speed off to block the exits out of town, leaving poor York behind to clutch his pearls, wondering what to do next.
We don't have to make a fuss. Thomas isn't going to leave town.
There's no obvious goal here, but when we drive away, most of the roads are blocked off. We're being directed somewhere.
So, where shall we go next?
Cruising through town, the car grinds to a halt when we spot Anna's spirit in the middle of the road. She gives us a proper tour of the block until we arrive at the Galaxy of Terror bar, where we're ambushed by the raincoat killer and forced inside. Clearly, her spirit brought us here for a reason. We just have to figure out why.
I almost became a goddess of the forest myself.
The biggest theme of the bar's other world is mannequins, which almost appear dressed in red vines. I think they represent Thomas's sexuality and their secret identity. On multiple occasions, there are hallways lined with them, and as we progress, they have less vines covering their frames, almost as if exposing themselves, removing layers as York gets closer to the truth. There's another chase sequence as well, except this time the killer will stop chasing us to slowly destroy the mannequins rather than, you know, running round them.
Wow, why? Why? Is this like when York was pushing away boxes, you know, previously, the time when the raincoat killer or raincoat axe killer, you know, was chasing after him? He had to be pushing away boxes. Now the raincoat killer guy has to be destroying these mannequins. Like, okay.
I guess he doesn't want a condemned moment, which I respect. He's a fucking idiot, but I respect it. The most important clue we find in this area is an ice pick stuck in a grand piano. Using it, we open a secret door hidden behind the bar by stabbing a deer's head.
Whoever made this must be crazy.
Downstairs, we stumble across a whole-ass sex dungeon hidden beneath our feet this entire time. And on a mannequin, York finds the missing necklace.
The perpetrator is exactly who I thought it was.
Taking a closer look, our boy gets fucking...
Is that Thomas? Okay.
Decked. This is a tricky spot for York. Thomas is unstable and most likely a murderer. Question is, what do they want with York? The next episode starts with us playing as a child version of York who's following his father through a forest.
Come on, boy, or it'll be too late.
Despite our best efforts, the dad quickly outpaces us. Lost and alone, we eventually run into a familiar face, Emily, who comforts and consoles us.
Are you okay?
Moments later, we return to an adult York, stood in front of the Angel twins and a bunch of female characters giggling between themselves. The children imply York is close to finding the suspect before the trees crack and blood pours from them. Waking up, instead of formulating a plan to escape, we take a moment for some TLC, mulling over our affections for Emily.
So I do care for...
You're gonna discuss about this now? Right now? Okay.
For Emily, what about you? We should take this opportunity and talk about this a bit.
Meanwhile, the others are at the secret dungeon, having been led there by Kaysen's dog. York's long gone, but Emily steps up to the plate.
Guys, don't trust Kaysen. This guy was one of those military officers. He has the same body type, the same body shape, I should say. You know, he even walks the same way. It's him.
Wanting to lead the search for him.
We're counting on you, boy. Welcome to the force, Deputy Willie.
Now, out of nowhere, we're playing as Emily, following Willie through the town with a ridiculous hip-hop track.
Emily's, you know, walking mechanic here is so clanky. Like, I don't know, she's just... it's weird. It's really weird.
Kicking in to hype us up. Deadly Premonition really takes the never let them guess your next move seriously. Running across town, we get occasional flashes from York's perspective as he tries to reason with Thomas.
Your disposition is not of my concern, but you do need to stop this.
And things come to a head when Thomas makes veiled threats about Emily.
Emily, right? She's a nice girl. You'd be better off not falling in love with her.
Considering the circumstances, whatever I say might not be important to you, but I'll say it anyways. Don't you dare touch Emily.
Speaking of... She's just arrived at the clock tower where this whole mess began many years ago. And against George's orders, she heads inside to scope it out. It's the first time anyone other than York has interacted with the other world, and I'm not sure why that is. Obviously, it's a gameplay thing, but from a lore perspective, it could be because the gas was released from this location, so it's more concentrated and therefore more likely to affect Emily. Working our way up...
Yeah, okay. I guess I can accept that. But she's been living in this town for a very long time. And you're telling me that all this time she has not been affected by the gas? Nah.
The tower, taking on waves of shadows, we eventually reach the top. Here, among the turning cogs, we encounter Thomas, fully dressed for the first time.
He's quite the handsome one, isn't he? I liked him the moment I saw him.
Turns out...
Okay, I don't think we needed to know that, but... Where's this going, Thomas?
Now, Thomas has a crush on York, which is why he didn't just kill him. But he is jealous of Emily, the woman that has his affections.
You filthy pig!
The transition from cutscene to combat here kills me. It goes from intense madness to light jazz. It's a jarring contrast.
You vicious swine!
Now Thomas will spin and jump between the cogs, trying to shoot us with little effect.
I mean, what is he doing? What is he doing? Nah, man.
Although midway through the shootout, he pulls a funny meme face, gets angry, and starts doing some wanted bullet curving. I have no idea what this is, but the bullets defy physics on their journey to us, forcing an epic delayed dodge. But eventually we whittle their health down, where they make one final desperate attack.
Die, you skanky swine!
Thankfully, Willie clutches up, jumping from the shadows to save us. The knife gets flung into the air, and sadly, this does follow the laws of physics, and what goes up must come down. That really is one of the deadliest premonition scenes in the game.
Like, how? How was the hook right there at that right moment for Thomas to be hooked on it like that? Oh, man. Okay, but Thomas, you know, good luck in the afterlife, I guess.
Oh my god. Controlling York again, the door opens and Willie runs over to free us. Meeting the others in the clock tower, York acts like a smug bastard because he knows something we don't.
Thomas was certainly neck deep in this, but he didn't kill the girls. If Thomas is not the killer, then there is only one other possibility. Love G himself.
George? George is the killer?
Big fuck.
No way, George? I was thinking about Kaysen this whole time. Nah, okay, fine. Maybe I'm wrong about Kaysen, but... George? Huh.
reveal, the Sheriff of Greenvale is the real baddie after all. A twist that's been eluded from the very beginning. He was hostile to our investigation from the moment we arrived, only changing tact when he realized he could frame Thomas. He had access to the police station's missing files and was always the first person at a scene who saw no one come and go. And you can even see George and Thomas heading into the bar's secret dungeon at the start of the game if you visit at the right time. These little attentions to detail really blew my mind. The only question left is why. So we head over to the station to get some answers.
Emily, I'm going in from the front. You secure the back.
Inside, George's office is empty, but we do find a key for a hidden room located in one of the jail cells. You can actually see this door from the very beginning, hidden behind a mattress, and I'm ashamed to admit, I never even noticed it on my first playthrough. A gosh darn detective I am not. Unlocking the heavy door, we discover another shrine, along with the Raincoat Killer's final victim.
Carol, are you okay?
Collapsing from her wounds, she asks Emily about her brother.
He's dead. I shot him.
Oh, Thomas and Carol are siblings. Okay. Oh, that's the person Thomas was hugging. This is the person, Carol. Alright.
I had to.
And when she realizes he's dead, she flies into a rage and rams a handful of seeds into Emily's mouth. York gives her the boot like a mangy old cat, causing her to tumble over and die. Rushing Emily outside, Kaysen takes her to the hospital, leaving us to deal with George once and for all. With the climax taking place on the jail's rooftop, which is conveniently arena-shaped.
My mother taught me, the strong, who can overpower others, is always correct and right.
Clearly, the abuse George suffered at his mother's hand has broken him. Mix that with the madness-inducing toxins from the soil, and the lad has become obsessed with power in a perverse way, starting with a weird sex cult and eventually leading him to the legend of the Red Seed.
So, is it going to make him immortal now, or is it going to give him another type of power?
Swallowing a fistful of the stuff, he goes full Arkham Joker, transforming into a swollen beast. And thankfully, York is ready to break the man's heart.
This is the mark my mother gave me. Proof of power.
That's the peace sign. Huh.
The red tree.
The red tree? You've got that all wrong, George. That's the mark of child abuse.
His first phase.
Yes, that's the mark of child abuse. You know it. You know it. Yes, York. Yes. Hey.
Is your standard affair, dodging his axe and shooting his exposed back when he taunts. The same area his mother whipped him, which of course has a devious sense of irony.
You think you're so clever.
Clearing his health, he does some villain monologuing, detailing his discovery of the Red Seed's power. After which, he jumps on another trend cycle, turning into a f***ing Japanese legend. Honestly,
is this guy like Frieza? He's here transforming into different versions of himself now. Like, what's going on? Really, what's going on?
This dude looks like a Neo boss right now. I was half expecting him to hit a Kame anime jokes.
Time to get serious, York.
Although again, it's all substance, no style. We dodge and attack just like before. 2 shots from the Magnum and he's done for. It really makes him seem like a little bitch, which is...
Really? That's it? You don't have to use heavier weapons? You know, like your submachine gun? Wow. Or your shotgun?
Only amplified when he breaks down and cries to Mummy.
Mama, I didn't do anything bad. Why? Why are you doing this to me?
In a childlike state, he speaks about an unknown person that caused all this by giving him a mysterious gift.
He's the one who made me do all this. He's the one that gave me the wonderful present.
Which means there are still forces at play we don't quite understand.
Steward. He's also a suspect. Steward. Yes. I'm still saying that that guy, what's his name, Kaysen, is also a suspect. So Steward and Kaysen, these are the last 2 people. Oh no. Emily. Emily went with Kaysen.
Throwing his axe in a final desperate attempt, we shoot it out of the air, causing it to fly back and impale this monster. As a bolt of lightning hits the axe, George is welled to the spot. The raincoat killer has finally been stopped, and with this, York collapses. With how crazy and unique George looked, it's a shame that the phases were still just press R to dodge and shoot the weak spot. But like I say, it could be worse. I mean, they could have had him chasing us down a staircase with a QTE or something awful like that. Waking up at the hospital soon after, we're greeted by Usher, and wanting to see Emily, York asks what room she's in, but there's a problem.
What, she hurt too? She hasn't come into the hospital.
What?
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
I told Kaysen to bring her here.
Kaysen came. He's the one who brought you here. He asked me to give you this.
This really doesn't look good. From the word go, Kaysen's been a bit sus. And now he's acting weird with Emily. We get dressed and leave, following the note's instructions which tell us to go to George's. And on the way over, you'll encounter a bizarre sight. These enormous dogs. They'll chase us down and try
At first I thought it was a horse.
to run our car off the road or something like that. I'm honestly not sure. They don't seem to do much, and if you drive fast enough, you'll just warp right through the buggers. At George's, the gaff's abandoned, and not just because he's dead. It's an actual bando with boarded windows and bare furnishing.
This is most strange, Zack. I thought this story was all over.
There's nothing to find upstairs, but in the hallway, pulling on a tarp, we discover a secret passage. Stepping into his perverted den, there's a shrine to his obsession.
It looks like George really had a thing for Emily.
Pushing a wardrobe aside, we reveal a hidden chamber with the corpse of George's mother rotting.
Oh gosh. Is this from the Red Seed? Yikes.
Meeting the mother is always a bad experience after killing the son.
This means when we got her the flower, she was already decaying beneath our feet.
If it's not urgent, I'd rather we did this later.
This could even be a reference to American Psycho, a crazed killer living with their dead mother. Picking up a sapling, we inspect it and make a final mental connection.
Wasn't a reverse peace mark.
And there's only one person in this town with any bearing to trees that's been involved from the word go. That smiley, happy-go-lucky piece of shit,
Kaysen.
Who's now taunting us with an invite to the town hall.
Emily.
But before the final climax, the game throws one last curveball, because in a sudden flashback, we take control of the original Raincoat Killer as he tears his way through the citizens of Greenvale, with every swing punctuated by a soothing cover of Amazing Grace. It's an
Are you people for real? Oh gosh.
Unexpected and brilliant moment. Even to the bitter end, there's no telling how this game will surprise you. The goal is to reach the clock tower, and when we get there, the final piece of the puzzle falls into place.
Aha, I said it. That this big guy, the way he's walking, the way his body shape is designed, it reminds me of Kaysen. He was there from the very beginning. Ah, Emily. And now I'm thinking about that portrait in, what's his name again? In Stewart's mansion. You know, that portrait that showed all the ladies who, you know, who were killed. And Emily's picture was there in that portrait as well. So
Kaysen was part of the original group that orchestrated the test on Greenvale, something that again was foreshadowed not only by his recognizable belly laugh, but you can even see his trademark sapling sat to the right in the original flashback.
I'm seeing his trademark walking, you know, the way he walks. That's what got to me. That's how I knew that this is the guy.
Whatever this man is up to, one thing is clear. He doesn't age at a human rate.
So he must be immortal then, after, you know, ingesting the red seed and killing civilians. That's how he gained his immortality.
Returning to York, the town's going crazy again, and Isaac and Isaiah seem to be the only people not affected.
No, everyone here is affected. Everyone in this town is affected. You know, they were also in close proximity, not only to the seeds, but also to the soil. So there's just no way.
I take that back, the little knobs. Back in control, everyone's gunning for us. So we dodge their attacks and head inside to find Kaysen, the prick, acting like a big baddie on stage.
Binding down people's rules is a sign of small-mindedness.
York goes to take Emily, but Kaysen's already gone too far. He's hatched a red seed from her stomach.
Getting these saplings to sprout requires a certain technique.
Realizing there's no coming back from this, she asks York to mercy kill her.
York, shoot me.
A request that triggers a suppressed memory, the truth about his parents.
Remove that sapling from her body, Kaysen. Xander, it's too late. Once it's like this, I can't do anything to stop it.
Man, Kaysen has been in this guy's life since he was a 7-year-old. He's the one who ruined his entire family here, ruined his life, and now he's doing it again with Emily. Ay.
Please, darling, shoot me.
York's father wasn't the cold-hearted killer we were led to believe. He was in the exact same situation York finds himself in now, and Kaysen was behind the scenes every step of the way. With his parents gone, Kaysen attacks York, but he actually refers to him as Zack.
I saw you, Zack.
And here, after multiple misdirects, we finally discover Zack's true meaning.
It's okay. I'm here. I'm with you. I'll be with you always. We can get through this together. Who are you?
Wait. Okay, so that's Zack, right? The guy with the brown hair, Zack, and then the one with the blonde hair. That is York, right? Huh.
My name is York.
He isn't a figment of York's imagination. He isn't a representation of us, the player. It's the true Francis York Morgan. In order to cope with this extreme trauma, he didn't just create an imaginary friend. He created a separate personality, one he let take over while his original psyche stayed locked away in the other world. In the present day, York's reverted to his original form, to Zack, with white hair and a far more prominent facial scar.
York, the other me. My other personality.
I don't think this is meant to be a physical transformation, but rather how he actually looked all along, which is why everyone kept on referring to him by his notable scar.
Okay, so the guy with the white hair is Zack, and then York is, you know, this one with the brown hair. And he is the imaginary, you know, friend that's inside his mind. And York takes over Zack's body, you know, when he's going through his episodes, if I can say that. Alright.
The special agent Scarface that everyone's yakking about.
The version we've been seeing is a construct of how York thinks he should look, although I don't know why no one remarks about his white hair. I feel like that would get people talking. But to the problem at hand, Emily doesn't want to become plant feed, so again she begs us to shoot her, giving us 3 choices: shoot Kaysen, shoot Emily, or shoot ourselves. It's an illusion of choice. Selecting anything other than Emily results in a game over. We have to choose Emily.
There are some things in this world that must be extracted.
Raising his weapon and quoting his father, Zack tries, but fails to carry out Emily's wishes.
I can't do it. I can't kill Emily.
Unable to sit back and accept this fate, in a feat of pure badassery, Emily rips the entire root out by hand, removing the infestation but effectively disemboweling herself. As she falls to the ground, York embraces her, transporting them to the Red Room, where we see Emily heading towards the other victims.
Emily, no. You aren't supposed to go over there. That's not the way. Come back, Emily.
Where she's greeted by none other than York himself.
I finally got to meet you face to face, but you had to go with York, didn't you? He always gets the girl.
A touching moment that's short-lived because Kaysen is transforming, mutating with the seeds into a comically large version of himself.
So what, is he also like Freezer now? Where he's gonna be transforming into different versions of himself? Okay. You need to go, Kaysen. You need to go.
He bounces from the stage and hangs from the lighting rigs, attacking us by spitting purple gunk. He's completely invulnerable to damage in this form, so we have to wait for him to body slam, dodge it, then shoot his stomach as he rolls around on the floor like an upturned truffle pig. Clearing his first health bar, he transforms into a giant baby-like creature, and hey, we decide it's
definitely Freezer.
Time to dip, ending up on a massive spiraling staircase with Kaysen in hot pursuit.
I'll squash you like a frog. I'm not done with you yet.
At the bottom, we jump through a door and arrive at the top of the bell tower where a giant Kaysen materializes.
Okay, is this his final transformation or is there another one after this? You're really going to fight him with your pistol? That's it? Man, this game.
This is Kaysen's final form, and they saved the best till last. He actually has an attack that requires us to do more than press R to dodge. It's an AoE attack where you have to run between the moving lines. Simple, yes, but
what's in his hands?
Massive step up from press R to dominate a fight. To damage him, we have to shoot the doll he holds in his right hand. Eventually, his health falls to a tiny little pip where he'll slam his fist into the ground, allowing us to climb up his arm and open fire, where Kaysen reveals his true self. A plant creature of sorts, either controlled or created by whatever powers reside over the red seed. But this interdimensional beast is no match for Zack and his trusty 9mm.
KO.
Kaysen's reign of terror finally ended. We return to Emily to offer one last piece of advice.
Emily, York tries not to show it, but he's pretty shy. Don't wait for him to propose. Just ask him to marry you.
After which, Zack picks her up and carries her out.
Guys, this is kind of sad. This is actually kind of sad. Oh. Emily.
Finally, after multiple twists and turns, our investigation is over. But before leaving town, there's one stone we haven't turned yet. So Zack pays one last visit to Harry with one question in mind.
Your last name isn't really Stewart, is it?
That is correct. It's really Woodman. Harry Woodman. George was my son.
He was George's father the whole time, meaning he's both the son and the father of the two versions of the Raincoat Killer.
And George didn't know that this was his dad? Huh.
Kind of an unnecessary addition to the plot. A bit of an eye roller, like it's...
Yeah, like it's kind of late now. It's kind of late.
Trying too hard to be a whoa moment, but it raises a bunch of questions about why the richest man in Greenvale shagged a local girl and then changed his surname and no one noticed.
I wanted to save George too, if I could.
How were you going to save George? How?
Everything was my fault.
Father issues aside, the only question left is, what is the other world? Because it's never really explained, at least not in the first game. All information has to be inferred subjectively, which I'm not against at all. It's better than Harry telling us the other world was his son all along. From what I can gather, it appears to be a real place. It's not a hallucination or a dream. It's a different reality or dimension that spirits and powerful entities exist in.
Okay, alright, but is it only people who have digested these seeds that exist in this place? Or can anyone be inside this place, you know? Yeah.
Those red seeds, they appear to break the barrier down between these worlds, which is why Kaysen is obsessed with traveling and planting them wherever he goes.
Sometimes I feel, I don't know, like a jolly old bumblebee.
The reason York seems to be able to jump between the two worlds seamlessly is because half his psyche, Zack, was trapped in the Red Room after his encounter with Kaysen.
How did you get out of the Red Room?
Again, this is all loose theory. Realistically, it's not overly important. The other worlds are primarily a mechanic to offer more interesting gameplay, and that's fine. You can dig as deep as you want.
Zack, no need to worry about that. York will guide Emily and the other girls into the forest.
Leaving the estate, Zack spots the spirit of Emily on the forest edge and stops off to investigate. Stumbling across the twins on their forest walk, we speak to them and they have a final message from Emily.
Wait, aren't they dead? Aren't they dead? Aren't these children dead? I mean, I saw them, you know, biting on not York, sorry. Well, yes, York. Yes, they were biting on York and then he fought back. So I thought maybe they died.
Emily asked us to give it to you. See? She's over there.
There's another Zack there too. You're twins, just like us.
Clearly, the twins are also able to interact with the other world, like Zack and York. This might even be why Kaysen had such a keen interest in them.
Emily, York, sounds like you're both doing fine. I feel better about you two now.
And when all's said and done, we return to the Deer Hotel, say goodbye to Zack, sign for our stay with Polly, and leave Greenvale, walking over the bridge with Zack looking optimistic for whatever the future might hold.
I gotta say, he looks kinda cool with the white hair. Yeah, he looks cool. Oh yes, and smoking is bad for you. It's bad for your lungs. Don't do it, Zack.
The last thing we see before the camera dips to black is Willie, Kaysen's dog, holding a doll of the man himself. Now that is foreshadowing if ever I've seen it. Post-credits, we see Emily and York sat in an alternate version of the A&G diner, seemingly in love with all the other victims present. Their spirits are all living together in a blissful existence, a somewhat positive ending for the victims of the Raincoat Killer.
I love it. I love it.
And we're done. Truly one of the most memorable and bizarre games I've ever played, for better or worse. But the story doesn't end there, because they actually managed to get a sequel made.
You have questions for us. That's why you're here.
Of course, it is as utterly bizarre as you'd expect.
Excuse me, but what are you doing?
Searching. I was just going to briefly talk about the game for a moment here, but I want to give it its own video. It's the only way to do a game like this justice.
You trying to say I gotta aim up to shoot because of my height?
So if you want to see that, show this video some love and I'll drop a full long-form video at some point next year, maybe even as a 500,000 subscriber special.
Oh. Please guys, if you haven't followed Totally Pointless TV, please follow him. If you haven't commented or liked this video, the original video, please go and do it now, okay? I want that second part. I want that second part. This is actually quite interesting. I did enjoy it so far. Definitely.
How's your mama?
One thing I haven't really spoken about yet is the man behind this beautiful mess, Hidetaka Sehiro, or as he's commonly known, Swery. This man's a bit of a Kojima. He loves video games, movies, surreal writing, and he also loves a bit of a cameo. He's worked on other stuff, most notably a game called D4, which was very well received and unfortunately abandoned after he departed from Access Games.
All tough on me.
Now that's cool and all, but dearie me, is there something really fucking interesting in the works with this lad, because he's working on a new horror game, a little something known as Hotel Barcelona, and it's apparently being created in collaboration with Suda51.
Snap, crackle, and pippity poppity poopity pow!
I sincerely hope they're able to get this project off the ground, because you have to know that it will be a fever dream of a game from start to finish. With the dust settled, I suppose the best way to describe Deadly Premonition would be a game with the Stockholm effect. Half the time I spent playing, it felt like a cumbersome sludge. There's enough flaws to drive a man to madness, and yet myself and others can only think fondly of it. When I say that this is the best bad game ever made, I'm saying that with no hyperbole. I truly believe it. The main saving grace is how clearly the developers loved Deadly Premonition. It is a passion project through and through, and with so many generic games released each year, you have to respect Suri and the team for pouring their hearts and souls into this flawed gem. From the unnecessary amounts of extra details to the many references to media that inspired it in the first place, it pays homage to everything weird, quirky and imperfect. A game that, in spite of the odds, has become a cult classic, loved by any brave soul able to ignore its many flaws. Now, before this video finishes, if you've made it this far, chances are you're a fan of the work. So I wanted to say thank you. This is my last video of 2022 and it's been an amazing year. My subscribers have doubled and I've had so much support on my new content type. I love making these videos and some people are loving them in turn, which honestly is all a man could ask for. And I promise to keep working hard to get these videos to you. As a side note, because it takes me so long to get these videos out, I'd recommend you follow me over on Twitter, where I make regular updates and just generally let you know what I'm interested in or working on at any point in time. Other than that, let me know what you thought of this crazy game. Thank you so much for watching and Happy New Year.
Okay, alright, that was the best bad game ever made by TotallyPointlessTV, requested by Twin TVs, yes. Yeah, this game had a bittersweet ending, you know. Yeah, Emily, you know, like I said before, when I saw her face or saw her, you know, her image in the portrait, it was almost like a foretelling about what's going to happen to her. And yeah, it happened. It was sad. It was a sad moment, but you know, at least she's having a happily ever after with Zack in the afterlife, if I can call it that. Well, no, it's not Zack, is it? Oh yes, it's Zack. Sorry, I'm getting confused with Zack and York. But yes, she's having a nice afterlife with Zack and with all the other victims. And yeah, the story was interesting, guys. It was actually quite good. Maybe the graphics were not that great, maybe the mechanics were not that great, you know, the way they did some things was just very odd and strange, you know, like with the split screen where you're seeing the raincoat guy in one screen and you're seeing yourself, or you're, you know, as you're playing as Zack, not Zack, what's his name, where you're playing York in the other screen. Yeah, that kind of mechanic was just, yeah, it was weird. And yes, there were some points within the cinematics of the game where you would see odd things, like you'd see York having a cigarette in his mouth and he's also having a cigarette in his hand, which was kind of weird. There were some points where the sound wasn't really properly, you know, audible. You couldn't really hear what they were saying. Sometimes the music was too loud. Sometimes the music didn't really match with what was going on. Like, you know, when York is talking about some sort of horrendous murder, you know, situation, but then they're playing some happy, cheery music. Like, it just doesn't work, you know. But the story itself was very good, I think, you know. And the various amounts of characters in the story also gave it that oomph, if I can say that. Like, you wouldn't really know who is the true culprit, who is going to become the next victim, you know. Only towards the end, like when the characters were dwindling down to a few, like maybe 4 or 5, then that's when you started to piece things together to see, okay, this person might die, this person might be the suspect, this person might be the perpetrator, you know. Towards the end, that's when things started to have a finalization. But in the beginning, with all the various characters, you just never knew who was going to be next. So yeah, this character York and what he's been going through, really, it was just sad. It was just so bad. And just this guy, what's his name again? Kingsley Wensley, you know, him hurting his mother, York's mother, giving York's mother the red seed, and the father not being able to, you know, kill the mother, and in the end they both died, and he saw all of that at the age of 7 years old, you know. That was just terrible. And now he's back again doing the same thing to Emily, the person that he loves. That was just so sad. But at least, you know, this guy is gone. The seed, or that flower sprout that was coming out of him, is also dead. And yeah, bittersweet ending. Like I said, bittersweet ending. Would I play this game? I don't think so. I enjoyed watching it. I enjoyed watching Totally Pointless TV playing the game. You know, yeah, that's enjoyable. But for me to play the game, I don't think I would. I don't think I would. But yeah, this was great. This was actually really great. The best bad game ever. Yeah, I think it deserves that title. Definitely. Guys, that's it. That's it for today. Thank you to Twin TVs for requesting that I should react to this video. It was a very enjoyable game. And yeah, guys, if you guys want to check out the original video as well as Totally Pointless TV's YouTube channel, the links are going to be in the description below. Remember, like, comment on the original video. I want that second part, so please like and comment on the original video. Subscribe to his channel as well for him to get to 500k and above, you know. Subscribe, please. I want that second part. And if you like my reaction, please give me a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel as well. And I will see you guys next time. Yeah, this was nice. This was actually quite nice. Alright, bye.